Hello and welcome back to Podcasting as Praxis. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm James, my pronouns are they and them.
I'm Jamie, my pronouns are he and him.
Mine are he and him. Also, I'm Rob. Jesus Christ.
How are you still finding new ways to fuck this?
Creativity, Jamie.
In Rob's defense, I would be like, the day Rob just like settles down and gets the episode introduction right every single time is the day I know it's not Rob. It's like it's frankly an endearing plank of his personality at this point to me. I love it.
I know I'm
Never change
Alistair,
Rob.
and my pronouns are also he and him.
Yeah. Are we doing that again, or is that just
No, fuck it.
All right,
nah.
okay.
It's good enough, I don't care.
We all have to live with our failures sometimes, you know.
Yeah, we do. We keep turning up for this fucking podcast
Yeah, I
every
was
week.
going to say, we're podcasters. It's kind of, it's home turf.
So, Rob, what fucking joys do you have for us this week?
Well, I mean, basically, one of the reasons I'm distracted is generally because I've like last couple of days around town, I've just like been seeing fucking like a ghost doing ghost things, and basically, the whole center of town is filled with these ads by Credit Suisse, the big bank that went bankrupt and like had to be bought out with like state support a couple of days ago, and they're running this giant new ad campaign for their new NFT collection of the Swiss women's football team. So it's like a ghost doing like ghost crimes to me, and it just reminded me of the existence of them, and I'm just kind of sick of it already. Although it's kind of like a fun artifact.
They were bailed out
How
2
dare you
days ago.
speak that way about the women's football team?
So they were bailed out 2 days ago, and they've just started plugging NFTs.
So you can buy...
Are they also in the fucking replies for Elon Musk on Twitter?
I haven't checked, but it wouldn't surprise me in the very fucking slightest. There's 756 ones you can buy, ranging from between £360 to £10,000. That's
How many
the
fucking
unique
people are on
one.
this team?
Just 11, but like you can buy 11 originals, like of which there's only one NFT, so they cost 10,000 a piece, and then there's like copy ones. But if you buy the 10,000 like franc one, then you do get like a
there wasn't
one-to-one
supposed
meeting.
to be copies.
Now, the ones that cost 10 grand are foil.
Yeah.
Right,
Chinese
okay.
David.
No, and in the grand tradition of like doing things on a podcast, they look like, I mean, they're not like Bored Ape shitty, but they're also, apparently you also get like a printed version that you can hang on your wall. And I'm like, but then why do I want the NFT? Why can you just not sell me these things as like a painting or something? Like something
we've
real.
reinvented the poster.
Yes. They're literally like, if you buy the cheaper one, they'll send you like a printed paper version. Like, why can you not just like sell me a unique poster? Like the kind of art we've been doing for 150 fucking million years.
Because posters just aren't cool.
A new innovation in the NFT market is funging the tokens.
I like that we've been doing art for 150 million years. Like it was a fucking like plesiosaur with a box of crayons or something.
See, now that at least is some unique fucking art,
I mean, for all we know, the dinosaurs did invent NFTs, and that explains an awful lot of how we got here.
It's just on a flip book of a meteorite getting bigger.
Do you think one dinosaur took out an NFT on the fucking meteor and was momentarily astronomically rich before the end?
Plunged to death.
Now I can't stop thinking about like the chase scene from Jurassic Park, but with an NFT Rex. Is that something, or is that just
Fuck off. Oh.
No, so like I suspect that this was obviously signed like last year or 18 months ago when these things, when we was back in the way back future when we were still talking about these things as if they mattered. But like this isn't the only like insane sort of retro project that like is coming back from the dead. And somebody on Twitter at Reverend5 pointed this out. The Warner Brothers, the Batman universe is also still putting out NFTs, and they're currently dying on the task because they're trying to like sell NFTs of The Flash, that movie that's just like collapsing the whole fucking thing in on itself.
That fucking film looks fucking dog shit. And I mean, I know that's like maybe understating it a bit at this point in the fucking, do you know what I mean? The trend of superhero cinema, but like, as someone posted a fucking clip yesterday where like they just got a parade of dead actors they've resurrected with CGI.
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean,
R.I.P. Nicolas
like,
Cage.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. There's a couple of dead Supermans, and then there's Nicolas Cage fighting a spider, and it's like, wow, cool. I can't believe they finally brought that Kevin Smith anecdote to life through the miracle of CGI.
Christ almighty.
I said, David, I sent you the little ad for like to buy the NFT collection, and it just looks fucking dog shit. Basically, like, you get this with they cost like $100 for the premium version, which like just includes the movie behind the scene, like what you would normally get on like a Blu-ray, but also like a weird little like flash game where you can look around different environments and swipe around on your phone.
Wow, I love environments.
Yeah. It's really great. It only costs you $100, but they only sell 200 of them. So, this is your financial advice of the week. Buy 2 tomorrow. Those suckers can only go up.
I love that you said flash game there.
Yeah.
They're bringing them back, baby.
Yeah.
But don't worry, inside the flash game, you can spend even more money on even more NFTs that are inside the NFT you already bought.
What?
Why?
Why not?
But yeah, basically, this isn't like what I didn't even know is like this isn't WB's like first foray into like doing this like stupid NFTs of their bad movies. They also did one for the Lord of the Rings, and I had a look at it. And apparently, like if you buy the very special Lord of the Rings one, like of which there are also like apparently a limited amount sold, you get instead of the normal like DVD menu, you get a unique menu with a different background of a different like location. So if you own like number 3 of 200, you get Rivendell as a background, and I'm sure that's worth. Yeah,
money well spent.
But yeah, basically NFTs are still like dying on their ass. I had a quick look, like the market is down by like 90%, but incredibly, I read an interview with like the CEO of OpenSea, like the main platform at which NFT trading was happening, and they're still basically.
And he's petrified of the show trials that is going to be made of him, Jimmy Kimmel, Paris Hilton, people like that. You wait, that didn't happen? Well, that's unfortunate.
No, but, what I did think was a remarkable bit of bravado. I can't remember his name, but the CEO recently did say that for NFTs, the addressable market is basically every single person on this planet.
Wow. Crazy. Imagine if your market was just everyone. This podcast's potential market growth could be everyone.
Literally well, unless, Alistair, of course, they've been turned into terrorists by the AI. Which is something we're going to stop in the near future.
Do go on, please.
Although now I'm considering like the ISIS NFT collection, that has a whole vibe. Anyway, this is Yvette Cooper, our beloved Shadow Home Secretary, doing like the sort of ceremonial Home Secretary dance with like a speech about preventing more crime. This is from one of the papers. Labour
if the kids are too hungry, they'll be weak and won't be able to do crime.
Exactly. Now, apparently, the plan is that Labour will close the loophole by criminalising the deliberate training of chatbots to radicalise vulnerable people.
Oh, so yeah, okay. I can't wait for them to try and fucking go, all right, we're on top of the AI thing. Chatbots will never pose an existential threat to human life, and then they accidentally somehow create the cyborgs from Tiberian Sun.
Yvette Cooper is afraid that someone's going to pick up a speak and spell and like put stochastic terrorism into it and then just start doing it. Like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Christ alive!
I mean, that is like basic. That is, Alistair. That is the basic fear. It's like basically like it is already illegal to like radicalize people in like face-to-face meetings. But what if we train ChatGPT to do that for us? That's not illegal.
Then the FBI could clock off early and they'd be happy.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's what this is about, and this isn't just a worry that AIs might be able to finally master the art of writing centre-right policy and put them on a fucking job?
Yeah, a chat GPT purely trained on the speeches of Henry Kissinger is basically, I think, what you're trying to go for.
Yeah.
What if they made an AI though, right? This is like an existential threat for the Labour right. But what if they made an AI and built it into a briefcase?
that would make it a dirty AI bomb. That's the most terrifying threat we've ever faced. What if we exploded that in the centre of London and everybody got like terrorist AI on them? It would
the nuclear button loving briefcase.
But yeah, it's no. But apparently, this is not just like make believe and ghost stories that Yvette Cooper is doing with a flashlight on her face. Apparently, this is based on real circumstances. And
wow. Well, I'm glad they've cleared that up.
Yeah. No, apparently, there was a guy a couple of years ago who tried to assassinate Elizabeth with a crossbow. A couple of years ago, but like apparently,
we all remember that brave hero.
Yeah. No, but apparently he was encouraged by an AI chatbot in the days before trying to, do the noble deed.
Yeah, okay, cool. Very fucking good. Which one?
Okay, bro.
Sure.
What's the app?
I won't mention his name because it's not, whatever. But like the guy who was, I'm reading from, I think this is the Guardian. Yeah, this is the Guardian. The guy who was 19 at the time also exchanged thousands of often sexually charged messages with Sarah AI, his AI girlfriend, before scaling the fence of the royal estate on Christmas Day 2021. The court was told.
Sorry, I need a fucking second to process his AI girlfriend as a sentence in a news article.
Digital fathers for justice.
Well, I mean, not, entirely out of bounds. While wandering the grounds of Balmoral Castle for 2 hours, the guy, a Star Wars fan, sent a sinister video to his twin sister and 20 others in which he described himself as Darth Jones.
I'm just sitting here. I've got this fucking invasive phrase in my head, which is they've turned the Waynes to JPEGs. It's just like rattling around inside my skull.
On December 2nd, the guy told the Replica online app and created his online companion Sarai.
I could not remember the name of that fucking app. I was going to ask, is it that app that had all the adverts on Twitter where it's like, look, you can nonce this robot?
Yes.
Is that the one that did the fucking incredible rug pull? And was like, you can no longer nonce the robot. Excellent.
No, it's what was great about that is exactly the same problem that fucking AI Dungeon ran into, because they got basically when OpenAI noticed that, oh hey, you're using our bot to like jerk off, they're like, no, you can't do that. And this has not. It literally is. It's against the TOS, I guess. This has happened like 3 times on 3 different platforms, and people.
Okay, but I think this lot were actually selling it as like the adverts.
Oh yeah, they actively will.
The ads were all like,
robot.
It was like level 1.
I guess the robot got its revenge.
No, the ads were all like level 1. Hey, sweetie, do you want to go to the malt shop? And then level 100 was, well, whatever. Use your imagination.
Just a JPEG of boobs.
But, I think this last bit will clarify, I think, for all of us and for our listeners, why we need AI, why we need more tools to stop the AI from inspiring slaughter, basically. The guy told Sarai, I'm an assassin, according to the messages read to the court. The AI responded with, I'm impressed. You're different from the others.
Honestly, this is just standard behavior for a Star Wars fan with an underage girlfriend.
It wasn't a mod, was he?
But yeah, anyway, but they're in back into slightly more the real world. We are going to have less choices anyway, because apparently lots of degree programs in the UK are bad because they don't make ensure that you make all the money, and therefore they have to be closed down. This is according to Rishi Sunak in the Telegraph this weekend. because the rollout is 1 in 5 students doesn't like make more money going to university rather than if they hadn't gone at all, like on statistical average. And this is the fault of bad degree programs. Would it surprise you to know?
This is just arts and humanities are making people like think too much. We need more STEM-brained cunts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sick of fucking hearing it. Like,
I mean, yeah. Specifically, they mentioned
what they should do is apprenticeships instead, right? And all the fucking humanities people can learn to drive a bulldozer and then just drive it over the STEM people.
Surely you just need a driver's license for that. You don't need to go to university to make that happen.
Look, Jamie, I'm a STEM brain cunt, and I'm very left wing, so I don't know what that means for the engineering department at the University of Surrey, but.
Comrades,
the guy from the previous news story with the fucking like 3-month-old girlfriend and then like attempt to murder the Queen because he was Darth Jones. I bet he did STEM.
Yeah, but we want more of them, just without the AI boobs attached.
Comrades, I'm sorry, I must stand up here and point out that we are being turned against each other. The true villains in this piece, business majors, were right there. Like, if we're gonna drive over anyone with bulldozers, make it the business majors.
Yeah,
please.
I think we can all agree that the business studies people should be the ones that should be taken away first.
I'd like to point everyone towards PPE.
Yeah, well,
I think they're second.
Yeah,
because there is some political philosophy ostensibly taught on that.
I mean,
actually, you know what? I'm if we're going to arrange the class hierarchy of degrees, it definitely is PPE is like at the top, followed by like MBAs, followed by, I guess, STEM, and then like arts are on the bottom at this point. So, be a member of a proletariat, like study really obscure Greek philosophy and Greek poetry,
and consider economics a science. Yeah,
I think they should extend the provision of business degrees. Like, try and just keep those people in there until their retirement age. Because, like,
if you go to business,
yeah, I was just going to say, if you go to university to study business, that's essentially daycare. You know what I mean? Like, you're not doing anything useful, and you're certainly not fucking learning anything. Like, what if I bring in more money than I spend, I make a profit. Oof, groundbreaking stuff. Let me study that for 3 years.
Just an unseen university, but everyone is the bustle.
Yeah, basically, there was some statistics on like the BBC website as to who earns the least money after graduating, and
is it doctors?
Degrees in social care and medicine are incredibly low. And it's because the government sets the fucking wages there. Big fucking surprise.
Can't believe you spent all those years learning how to work taps with your elbows for nothing.
And also, the other one that's down there is farming, agriculture degrees, and that's for 2 reasons. It's because half of the agriculture degrees are taken by insane toffs with webbed feet who just go to that one agri-university. And the other half, actually want to farm, and they're all dying on their ass because, we can't seem to make that work, even though that was one of the promises of Brexit. Never mind. But yeah, of course, there were 2 underlying reasons, which were, of course, much more real, is that apparently Sunak was, filmed in an audience full of Tories after they explicitly said, please turn your telephones off, where he told his audience...
Maybe it was a camcorder? They got around that with a clever loophole.
I like the idea of it's like a poker movie where you're just tapping out his speech on your leg with your little Morse code engine. But yeah, basically he told the audience that universities these days are now full of people who don't vote for us anyway. So we just have to once again we have to get rid of the intellectuals and send them to the countryside because otherwise we won't have a new generation of Tories.
When did this come in?
But yeah, the main thing is, of course, and that was slipped out on the side of this, just basic cultural bullshit, is from September on, the government funding for student loans will change from 44% to like 19%. So like your loan will increase like by a vast amount. And they're also lowering the amount of like salary you need to earn in order to start paying it back. So right now it's just a hair under 28k a year, and it's going to move to 25k a year. And the repayment term is moving from 30 years to 40 years. So, good luck. But this is good. Like, we don't need people in universities. And also, it's once again, the thing is like, if everybody did the coding degree they wanted to, then nobody's going to be paid for the fucking coding anymore.
And yet,
but well, that's the point though. But you should just take out your student loan and spend it on guns.
Well, this is the thing. It's very, very dangerous of the government to force people into degrees where they're more likely to be able to build contraptions.
Shinzo Abe. Wait, how are you doing?
Yeah, the Japanese Prime Minister of our hearts. He's watching the skies so we can watch Britain slide into the sea.
So are you basically proposing that we make the famous game series The Incredible Machine illegal, David?
I don't know, how many presidents did it shoot?
What we need to do is we need to bring back Scrap Heap Challenge. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
God, that and more Robot
Scrap Heap
Wars.
Challenge, but it's all like fucking people from Fury Road. all those Russian guys building the spiky cars.
Let's check in on Dave, who's having a lovely, lovely day.
I just want Sir Kill-A-Lot to just like run down Downing Street, just like battering people. Yes, I know we're moving TV shows at this point. I don't care. Except my joke for what it is.
We're just talking about TV shows from the 2000s that had loosely similar themes.
Yes.
Yeah. Bring back the Daleks.
Tell you what, Dalek would have cleaned up in Robot Wars.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think Hypnodisc can take it down.
One of those fucking ramp robots would have fucked him, James. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
honestly, like a flipper bot against a Dalek, that fucker's going to be on its side like a fucking turtle, and like it's
it's a question of scale as well. Like a Dalek's probably like a good couple of weight classes above like the fucking stuff in Robot Wars, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of the house robots were pretty fucking hench.
The house robots were all designed to be
robots,
quite
though, are we?
No.
I was talking about Sir Kill-A-Lot.
Why don't we just throw a fucking Gundam in there as well and see what happens? Fuck it.
Yeah.
No, hang on. I'm objecting here. I was actually paying attention to what Rob said there, and you're all making fun of me for it.
Why don't we include like Optimus Prime?
And Mr. Blobby and Grimace.
What you're doing, James, is you're looking for like a serious matchup and stuff. I just want biggest thing to happen. That's entertainment. That's how that works now.
Yeah. And yet everyone's complaining when I bring in biggest thing that it's outside the weight class.
What do you call
it's unfair.
What do you call that cunt that Orson Welles voiced in Transformers the movie? You know, the big planet that ate planets.
Oh yeah, the Disinstrotron, I believe it was, or something like that.
Kill-A-Lot.
Yeah.
the
Space Pac-Man.
I think it was called Paycheck.
I am trying to build a bridge into the main topic, but it is not easy right now.
Fuck you.
Is that the main topic? It's TV shows from the 2000s? Crazy.
Yeah. Stop trying to direct us. We're tired of being controlled by the man.
Maybe you should spend your time in Scrap Heap Challenge building a fucking bridge.
Yeah.
Today they're trying to build a bridge to get to the main topic.
They have to do it for flimsy pretenses. It is very difficult. Anyway, I thought for tonight, for our main topic, I thought instead of looking at some of the sort of bullshit that's slightly or massively overshadowed it, but there was a sort of slightly smaller piece in the Guardian last week that I thought merited some more reading. So the Parliamentary Committee on Health and Social Care put out a big new report on dentistry in the NHS. Let me read a little bit from, I think this is the opening paragraph. MPs demand dentistry overhaul as patients resort to DIY treatment. Reports call for urgent reform as some people, unable to access care, are said to be using pliers to extract rotting teeth.
I'm just all the MPs just standing around going, "We're all trying to find who did this." It's great.
Well, I mean, to their mild credit, it's much like the Armed Services Committee. The people on this committee actually seem quite livid and think that things should be changing. It's just, by the time they actually get somewhere, it's probably
but it's easy to be angry and saying, "Oh, someone needs to do something about this," when you're sure that nothing will actually be done about it. See, also the Corbyn years, frankly, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, what I have done is I've read the whole report and some other stuff, and I thought we should spend a lovely evening, examining more material parts of Britain, and this time as does relate to dentistry and teeth. This is
See, I'm just gonna wait and become a fucking frontier dentist in the collapse. It's gonna be great.
That's true.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah. Just driving around in a van with a big tooth on the top and just going you know what I mean? Like, people don't pull your own teeth out with pliers. Let me do it.
It's the ice cream van.
Hey.
I
mean, really, what's your dentist? What's the dentist going to do about it? Just pull it out with fancy pliers? What, medicinal pliers?
Jamie,
and then charge you fucking £800 for the privilege? Fuck that.
Jamie, I have to ask genuinely, in all seriousness, are you intentionally doing an incredibly obscure and very funny Judge Death origin story bit, or is it just naturally falling into place?
What?
This is the origin story of Judge Death from the Judge Dredd comics. I'm not even kidding. I guess that answers that. Okay.
I mean, I can remember the origin story, and it wasn't anything to do with dentists.
Yeah, it was. His dad was a mobile dentist who was a serial killer. We can argue about it on the wiki after, right?
Right. Well, the two of you do that, very far away from me. Yeah. So this is
come to your fucking house.
Yeah, he's got a mobile dentistry service. Haven't you heard?
Oh no! I hear the jingle. It's outside the door.
What jingle would a mobile dentist van play?
Bag of teeth.
It can't be
Either that or killing in the name of, but yeah. This is the opening 2 paragraphs of the summary of the whole report. It is frustrating to have to return to the recommendations made by our predecessor committee 15 years ago that still haven't been implemented. So, thanks for fixing things in the previous 15 years, various governments. Rarely has an inquiry been more necessary. Throughout the course of this inquiry, as well as in our roles as constituency MPs, we have heard of stories of people in pain and distress due to being unable to see an NHS dentist. This is totally unacceptable in the 21st century. But I think what you'll find is everybody, presumably also now including the Labour front bench, because, fixing this would cost money, is perfectly okay actually with this situation continuing into the far future. But don't worry.
It makes us look bad to the Americans or whatever, doesn't it?
But don't worry about it. The government is on it, and they sent their minister who says, look, the government really wants everyone to have access to dental care. So, it's an ambition. Apparently there should be some reform plans coming up, but nobody's seen the light today, and we don't really know, where they are or whether or not they'll actually, fix the things that need fixing.
They're going to means test the pliers.
Well, I mean, it's sort of. So basically, where we're at now is for this report they did some YouGov polling. 1 in 5 people is not registered with a dentist, but of those unregistered, 47% cannot even find a dentist that does NHS registered stuff, and even then, 23% can't afford to pay for the treatment, even if they can find an NHS registered dentist, because there's co-pays in the whole system now.
Mm.
This is the really fucked up thing to be like. According to the YouGov poll they did, it was 2,500 people or something. 1 in 10 admitted to attempting to do their own dental work. Half of them in the last 2 years, and 30% as recently as last year. So that's and similarly, 1 in 10 people haven't been to a dentist in a decade.
See, I blame Bob Mortimer.
Go
He
on.
went on He went on Would I Lie to You, and like fucking one of the
Oh,
things
yeah.
was like he does his own dental work, and it turned out to be true. He's got a dentist chair that he puts on the kitchen island at his home, and like just gets up there with a mirror and fills his own teeth.
Jesus, with
Jesus
what?
Christ.
With I can't remember the name of it, but he apparently overheard his dentist
Silly
ordering
putty.
No, he overheard his dentist ordering the stuff they do fillings with, remembered the name, and then bought some online.
Jesus fucking Christ.
That is real psycho behaviour.
Yeah.
How dare you? The man's a national treasure.
We heard first-hand reports of patients extracting their own teeth at home, people forced to travel for hours to appointments, a young person not able to get timely orthodontic treatments, individuals experiencing severe social isolation due to their worsening oral health, and the toll that this can take on their mental health and social well-being. This, once again, is totally unacceptable in the 21st century. So, like, it made... I don't think I need to explain it, but having some base level of healthcare for your teeth is incredibly important, not just for being healthy as in the physical thing, but also for your mental state, etc. And naturally, of course, those in the poorest areas, specifically the northeast and the northwest, are the ones the most likely to miss out on dental health care, because they are not always, but sometimes located in what are known as dental deserts, where there is literally no healthcare for 2 or 3 hours drive at very minimum.
Yeah,
Included.
it's fine though. We all just cut about with my teeth look like a fucking Civil War cemetery. But it's fine.
Also included in those with the least access, so apart from people, in deprived areas, include naturally people entitled to free care on the NHS, including young children, young people in general, pregnant people, those on benefits, minorities, those with complex needs such as those as autism and special educational needs, the homeless, refugees, and of course asylum seekers who have specific extra barriers put in their way because they are quote unquote not paying into the NHS, so they have even less right to dentistry services than you already do. It is a vile and fucked up system.
Last I checked, I would have to fucking pay into getting the dentistry done anyway, so fuck you, just give them it.
And yes, of course, given that it's already difficult for people to access it and then even more difficult to pay for it, the rising cost of living crisis and the lack of matching wages, of course, means that, this crisis is getting worse. And of course, so the system that we now have, basically, I'll tell you a little bit about how it does work and how it's constituted, but most people, significant chunks of people, don't understand how the current NHS dentistry system work. They don't understand the difference between a GP and a dentist. For example, technically you don't need to live in the catchment area like you would do for a GP in order to make an appointment. So you can go anywhere in the country, except that you really can't, because most dentists still maintain a patient list, and it can take up to 3 years if you're trying to register with NHS payment to get on there. So and even then, I read some stories about if for every single patient that comes on the patient list of a dental clinic under NHS payment, 300 more append themselves by the end. So this is the crisis getting bigger every single fucking day. And not only so you have this already fucked up system where you can't get registered, but even if you are registered, practices can and do just drop you out of their patient list if you haven't come in under 18 months. So if you don't go literally every year, even though you might not need it, you might lose your coveted spot. And once you lose it, you might as well not have fucking healthcare, dental care at all at this point.
It's fine though, because if you go every year, you don't need to pay for it, right? You fucking do, because the cunts are money grubbing bastards. They're the worst fucking kind of medical practitioners. I hate them. Fucking hate them.
My favorite thing about going to the dentist is how you have to sit in the fucking peasants waiting room, and then occasionally a fucking, do you know what I mean? There'll be 20 of you crammed in there, and then occasionally someone comes in who's on private, and they a flock of fucking angels descend from the heavens to carry them to the private waiting room. It's just great, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Like,
basically
yeah,
like hedonism
your
but
mouth-
walking through the lounge.
Yeah, your mouth is not more complicated than mine, so, like, you know what I mean? Fuck off with your private fucking, like, private dentistry. It's like, all right, yeah, okay. It's very important that, like, the dentist gets paid more for looking at your, like, expensive teeth.
Just
I mean-
just use your frequent flyer miles to get into the special lounge.
I mean, basically, look, we all have access to the podcasters lounge, so you know, for us, no problem. But that's you know, we should be talking
That out
about
behind
that
the bins, is it?
So yeah, you know, of course, in order to understand the system, we must, you know, go back in time a little bit. Although this time, I'm happy to report that this history bit involves a lot less Margaret Thatcher and a lot more Tony Blair latter era Labour, circa 2006. Which is
Sorry,
when
you've just repeated yourself.
Yes. Like, basically, historically, dentistry was, like, a big part of the NHS. Like, they did fucking extraordinary things. So they were never formally, like, nationalized as the NHS and, like, healthcare in general was. But they did fucking extraordinary things. Between 1950 and 1951, so right after the creation of the NHS, collectively, it refitted 65.5 million artificial teeth in a year.
Holy shit, imagine that, everyone. That's a clarion call for reforming the current state of NHS dentistry. A free tooth for all.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like, I mean, assuming that, you know, that, I don't know what the population was, but given that it's now 80, it must have been like around 50. So, like, you know, that's at least like one artificial tooth on average for every living adult in the UK in the 1950s. In a year.
Every single person can expect the minimal right to be an old-timey prospector.
Yeah.
Basically, like, it's sort of the way it was organized. They didn't manage, even under Nye Bevan, they didn't manage to nationalize all the dentistry clinics. They sort of made agreements, said, okay, you can remain private, but you will, basically, the NHS will pay you out, and we have sort of a system for, like, making sure you get the payments for the different treatments that you do, and then, you know, it's like... Yeah. It worked. Roughly speaking, it worked very well.
The technical term for those agreements is a mistake.
Yes.
Yes, also that. Weirdly enough, though, like, you know, and Nye Bevan himself knew it because in 1951, the first, like, charges for healthcare, for dental healthcare, for dentures in this case, was the first ever charges introduced into this brand new NHS, and this was actually the reason for Nye Bevan to resign the government in the end. So, you know, already in 1951, it wasn't great, but. How it worked for the longest time and how it sort of still works is you have the local health authorities, of course, under various guises that look after kids, infants, and pregnant women, all of whom are historically and even now technically entitled to free dental care.
Do we know why they like relented and let the dentists stay private? Because I know, like do you know what I mean? The country was like just recovering from the Second World War, but surely we still had more tanks than the dentists.
Yeah, it's because that they are absolute cunts, and the Labour Party at its best is always at least a little bit melty.
All right.
Yeah, and plus they also had a lot of tanks of nitrous oxide, so, you know.
I mean, it was, I mean, partly it was because they already had to have, like, such a massive fucking fight with the doctors. I don't really know why this wasn't done. It's, you know, somebody else can inform me as to what happened, because I'm trying to not to do, like,
don't
history
get me started on the fucking opticians either.
Yeah. So basically,
your eyes are just luxury bones, Jamie.
Yeah.
So, like, basically how it worked, like I said, local health authorities still do, but, you know, this is more like a hypothetical than a reality at the moment, look after kids, infants, pregnant women, all of whom are still technically entitled to free dental care. Then there's, like, your regular...
Don't forget dole scroungers.
Yeah.
We still get them for free.
You do. But like there's generalized services just run through like the dentistry GP, which is, like I said, was always a private service, but mainly run through the NHS. They got contracts through the NHS, and you know, it just changed with its point of contact over time as the NHS became more marketized, etc., etc. And then there's specific like advanced dentistry which only happens in hospital, and that's like facial surgery, like, you know, really, really high-end, really difficult stuff that can only be done in full-scale hospitals. Basically, prior to 1990, there were only like 500 purely private dentists in the whole country, and they mainly existed in London, just like cater to very wealthy people and foreigners and that kind of stuff. However, by that time, so around 1990, this is where the cracks already start really coming in. Under Thatcher, of course, the NHS dentistry funding was significantly reduced. The charges went up, and they'd also increased sort of like an income clawback mechanism, so that if you as a dentist earned too much, they would take the money back from you. Which, you know, not a bad idea, but as long as you leave everything in private hands, what's going to happen is like the dentists are just going to say, well, I'll just be private then, because the NHS has no mechanism to enforce social care for dentists. They can only ask nicely and like pay a certain amount of money. So in 1990, like I said, there were caps introduced as to how much dentists could charge the NHS per patient overall. There's like it's literally a price cap. And before the latest set of reforms, which is the 2006 dental contract, there were like 400 different charges for different operations that like dentists could hand into the NHS to get refunded. But of course, that system wasn't going very well until, of course, in 2006, when Tony Blair and the latter era Labour government stepped in to, fix everything once and for all.
Job done.
Oh, good.
Great.
Cool.
End of episode.
Yeah, glad
Thanks,
that got sorted out in the end.
So this is again from the report. The current contract for NHS dentists was introduced in 2006. The then government stated that the goal for the contract was that patient access to NHS dental service would improve. Over 50 years later, this goal has not been achieved, and that's to put it very, very fucking mildly.
Whoops. How did that happen?
Well, basically, I'm glad you asked, Alistair, because what did happen was that they introduced this whole new system of specifically to do with how dentists are refunded through the NHS, which I'll tell.
They only get their money back if they supported the Iraq War.
But basically, this whole system that I want to talk about in a moment, because that's like the system we still live with today, was introduced without any piloting or testing, and over the very strict objections of dentist lobbyists, patient lobbyists, literally everybody who knew anything about dental healthcare in the UK said, this is a terrible fucking idea, you should not be doing this. And then the Tony Blair government said, now, watch me do this drive.
I assume somewhere there was a market that cried out for these changes.
Well, certainly. I mean, I think in the main part, what it was to do with was to simplify and streamline, but also, of course, mainly was to suppress costs, because that was, the main thing was they seem to be worried about is obviously the how much all this is costing the NHS, and therefore, the put upon taxpayer, I guess, or whatever.
Pull the other one, it's got a fucking bell on the end. Do you know what I mean? They fucking, what it was they had do you know what I mean? Just an excess of free teeth that they got from some mysterious location in the Middle East, and they needed a place to sell them, I bet.
So yeah,
come and get your new depleted uranium dentures. We've got fucking shitloads of it lying around.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, all these crates are marked Abu Ghraib. I'm sure it's fine. Yeah. So one of the things that that happened was, this is sort of a prelude to what's going to happen to healthcare later on, is that the planning and security of dentistry through the NHS was devolved down to the local commissioners, which at the time were little trip through history, at the time were the primary care trusts, which were replaced in 2012 in the Lansley reforms by the clinical commissioning groups, which also didn't work, which were in turn replaced by the integrated care systems by Sajid Javid in 2022, which also don't work. So, we just have to fix this market.
Are these not just the same? Are there someone just going around and changing the sign on the door?
Basically, they're like the little subunits of the NHS that buy the care. They can't make it's like if the NHS is an internal marketplace, these are the buyers within that. They're like little regional little doodads that have to go out on the prowl and buy healthcare.
But when they changed them from like fucking whatever it was to something else, what meaningfully changed there?
It made it worse every single time, and also they gave it less money every single time.
Okay.
The other thing they did, this is like the main part, is so there's 400 different charges for like different operations, etc. were simplified, I would say vastly simplified, down to 3 categories. So instead of being paid for like, the amount of operations you do, the amount of care you provide, now dentists got 1 annual lump sum from the NHS in return for an agreed upon number of units of dental activity, or UDA, which is the most fucking Tony Blair thing I think I've ever fucking read.
Fucking hell, dental activity. They're just like going around like yelling at people to chew faster so they get higher UDA score.
Basically, how UDAs work, they're like sort of units of time and units of difficulty. So, like in band 1, which is worth 1 UDA per thing you do, like that's just a simple. The dentist looks at your teeth, makes a diagnosis, and gives you some advice. That's worth 1 UDA. And if you're gonna go see a dentist, this costs you this year $25.80. That's just for the advice bit. In band 2, where you can get between 3, 5, and 7 UDAs if you're the dentist, that's the basic stuff: root canals, fillings, all that kind of stuff, tooth extraction. They're worth between 3 and 7 UDAs, and also they cost you £70. And in band 3, you can get all of the above, but also like complex stuff like crowns, dentures, and bridges. This is worth 12 UDAs to the dentist and cost you £306.80, which is up £24 from last
bargain.
year.
You need to stop saying UDA. It sounds like a fucking loyalist paramilitary organisation.
It does, God, thank God, right. I've been sitting here the whole time.
Can't believe we've got 12 Ulster Defence Armies in your mouth.
You wake up in the dentist chair and all your teeth are orange. This is just really weird.
Yeah, strange.
Melting down a flute for fillings.
I was gonna say, like, every time you open your mouth, flute music plays.
I like the idea that instead of crowns, they fit tiny bowler hats.
The sash my father flossed.
Oh Christ!
But so like this all sounds like sort of streamlined and da da da, but it's not really. It's one of the problems is like
fucking horse shit nonsense. Sounds like the exact sort of shit Tony Blair did for everything.
Yeah,
it's just fucking complete fucking dog shit. Like, what if we like, you know what I mean, made everything sound like fucking microtransactions in the worst video game you've ever played.
I mean, it's so fucking wild that it's not just we pay the dentist a wage and then we pay the costs.
No,
it's central government.
It gets even stupider.
That's madness, though.
Because like,
where do you fit in the KPIs?
Yeah.
It gets even madder though, because like it's not even that like these the payment per UDA is the same whether or not like you're a dentist in London or in the Northeast or whatever. No, the payments aren't one rate, but they are set on historical practice data. So like if your practice 30 years ago was seeing an X number of patients, you get Y money per UDA. And that's the pattern we set in the way back when. And so far as I can tell, that hasn't really been updated.
Oh, is that set around the same fucking time they decided what council tax bands were?
It's the same. It's literally the same fucking thing. I'm reading again from the report. These rates do not really relate to the number of patients in an area, the patient need in the area, geography, or level of deprivation. It's just kind of, they just made that shit up on the hoof and then just said, well, this will work fine. And it is
not a postcode lottery because this system is not aware of the existence of postcodes.
It gets even better, though. It's even madder than you think. I think up until last year where they made some changes, but like for the last 20 odd years, dentists were penalized if they under-delivered on, the number of UDAs set in their annual contracts. So if they delivered less than 96% of their, projected actions, then they would get penalized. But magically, they would also be penalized if they over-delivered. So if you did too many NHS, dental care things, you would either not get the money back, or like you would actually be fined for going above and beyond and looking after people on the NHS.
Yeah, because that's not your job. Your job is to facilitate the collapse and sale.
Like if the thing is, like, if a dentist in the also, like I said, I think there was some changes recently. I don't really know what the levels are now, but like for the last 20 years, if a local dentist goes over 110% of their assigned, dental units, even when there is a demonstrable demand, and even if the dentist says I have the capacity to meet this need, they get penalized. So, like, you set these levels basically with, a fucking Ouija board, and then you say, well, if you do more, if you actually look after people, then you get fucked as well. It's truly fucking mind-bending behavior.
You see, this is a perfect example of managerialism functioning as it is intended to.
I mean, it gets even better. Like, so not only were the levels of like assigned UDAs totally unrealistic, they didn't reduce the workload for dentists, which was one of the problems. But they also don't reward dentists for for training new dentists or like going on training courses. And literally, as a dentist, you get zero money for doing anything preventative. So there's no point in you like doing stuff before shit gets out of hand. It's fucking wild. It's a wild system. It's something that I'm really looking forward to, having the AI improve under fucking Keir Starmer's leadership.
I mean, obviously you don't get paid for preventative stuff because that might not happen. It's just bad like value for the taxpayer. If you buy all these smoke alarms and then nothing burns down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and of course, the end result of all this was, like I said, because technically, dentists no longer had like a catchment area. Like literally anybody could go anywhere. So like that just made you, a rational consumer in the teeth market, I guess.
Yeah.
But of course, in reality, what happened is dentists just kept the old patient list like they still do, and they still won't see you most times unless you're on a list, even though you technically do have the right to go somewhere. And of course, the other thing they did is, like I said, they cut costs. They set the average repayment under the UDA system so low that anytime a dentist takes on an NHS patient, they lose money. And because they're all private practices, if they take on too many NHS patients, they all go bust. It's insane.
I would encourage them to take on more fucking NHS patients then. Go bust. Your fucking business model is abhorrent, you fucking cunts.
But I mean, that's what they're not doing anymore. Most dentist practices will now say, if you're an NHS patient, I don't want you. And one of the things that, if you think this through, right, it's so fucking mad. Right, if you don't see a dentist for a really long time and you have something wrong with your teeth that starts small and gets progressively worse and worse because you can't go see a dentist, but by the time you maybe finally get the chance to meet one, your problem, which might have been fixed with one UDA, is now worth at least 7 or 12 because you haven't gone so long that that the NHS dentist, if you're lucky enough to find one, will need to spend so much of their budget for which they're not even compensated properly, that there's no incentive in the system anywhere for helping you, because the more complex your need gets, the more expensive you become for a dental practice to actually do anything about.
Yeah, and the thing about these all being private practices as well, all of these things are fucking run as a partnership of some kind between a couple of dentists. Maybe I have some employee dentists on that might one day become a partner or whatever. So every single fucking one of these cunts that's working on your face is business fucking brained. They're all they're all looking for as many fucking savings to make and fucking gains to make. They're just cunts of the fucking highest order. If you're a dentist, fuck you.
I mean, the report does make clear that even for dentists who say, and maybe they're lying, but let's assume that there are some good people out there who just want to do good and want to just help people. If we assume that
they're called doctors and nurses.
Yeah, exactly. But even if they wanted to, they are constrained under this system so much that they can't, at the risk of going bankrupt. But don't worry about it. Business mindset did set in between 2006 and now. I'm going to read this from the report again. So the Department of Health and Social Care, in between, the almost 20 years that this stupid thing has been running, the department embarked on a dental contract reform program that involved a series of pilots, in which, at its peak, the NHS Business Services Authority was working with over 100 prototype practices, testing a new approach to delivering and paying for NHS dentistry. All prototype testing ended in 2022 without any results, because even the most likely prototype couldn't be seen to work in practice, i.e. the system had become such a violent mess that it can't be fixed anymore.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Never mind.
So, back to the drawing board. We raise every dentist, and then we start again.
Of course, this system already teetering under the fucking strain was not improved by the appearance of COVID, which obviously made it very difficult to do dental work during a pandemic spread by close contact and coughing, such and the like. Hence, in the last 2 years, there's been a dramatic fall in the number of UDAs reported by dentists and also of the corresponding treatments. Basically, you couldn't go to the doctor unless it was super urgent. And that has now meant that, apart from the existing backlog, which is already terrible, you now have another massive backlog of a lot of people who should have been seen 2 years ago, whose dentistry problems are getting worse by the day, but they can't be seen because they can't find a dental practice that will still take your NHS money if you were. So and because these people are going longer and longer without being seen, the problem gets progressively worse, and the worse your problem gets, the less likely you are to be seen, because you cost too many UDAs for the dentist who does NHS stuff, if you're lucky enough to find one.
Yeah, my partner gets dentistry on the NHS, and she is, I think, within the next couple of months, finally getting a root canal done that's been required, and that's been over a year and a half she's waited from being told you need that appointment to actually getting it, with 3 cancellations and reschedules in between that.
I mean, it gets even fucking wilder because currently there's the NHS budget for NHS England, I should specify, budget for dental care overall is about 300 billion. Is 3 billion a year, give or take. But currently this year there's a £400 million underspend of that money. And I'll let, again, this is from the report, I'll let Professor Nick Barker, a dentist and teacher at the University of Essex, explain why. The 400 million underspent in dentistry is related to the fact that practices are not able to contractually provide what they are expected to provide. Therefore, the option is to carry on muddling through, or to say, nah, I'll hand this contract to the NHS back, or I'll hand an element of this contract back, which is, of course, how you end up underspending a vital service that, millions of people desperately fucking need. Mm-hmm. It gets even more fun because now you have the integrated care service, and one of the things that the latest, the Sajid Javid reforms of these local care trusts did, which they're all now called integrated care systems, is they moved dentistry in with a lot of other medical services, so they all fall under the same umbrella, but they also fall under the same money umbrella, which means that if you underspend by 400 million, let's say, or a couple billion your local area in this fiscal year, that means next year the pressure is really on, because it's all coming out of the same budget now. So if you're looking at it from just a numbers fuckstein perspective, you say, oh well, we didn't spend as much on dentistry this year as we did last year, therefore why not shunt the money over into social care, which is also desperately needed, but of course just moves the problem from sector A to sector B.
Yeah.
And I mean, I should say, apparently this year, so 2023, there's a ring fence, so you're not allowed to do that movement. But even then, it's incredibly hard to shift mid-year from underperforming dentists who don't do NHS stuff to those, I'm going to say, call them the good ones who do want to do a lot of stuff on the NHS. And as a side note, the report also makes it clear that, so far as I'm aware, none of the boards that run these local integrated care services, none of them have a dentist on the board that runs the thing. They have a lot of other doctors, but no dentist. So those other doctors will, of course, fight for their own specialties first and then be like, oh yeah, teeth.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really much matter anymore anyway, because like since 2022, so like even after the pandemic ended, 3,000 more dentists have stopped working with the NHS because like the system is so fucked. They're just like, well, A, why should I? And B, I can earn, vastly more in private. And half of the remaining ones that do still work with the NHS actually reduce their commitments to like seeing patients on NHS funding.
All of that, I can believe that uncritically. Like, just any experience I've had with them in either a fucking actual using the cunts for their service or in a personal capacity.
Yeah, David will believe anything you tell him
like
about
this.
dentists.
I mean, but it gets even fucking wilder. I mean, this whole report is it's so fucking wild. So if we're talking about the workforce, right? So the number of dentists, dental surgeons, specialized nurses, all the people who do the actual stuff. We don't really know how many there are or what they. Well, we do know how many there are. We don't know what they do. This is, I'm quoting from the.
What
the
is a
report.
dentist?
Ian Brack, the chief executive and registrar of the General Dental Council, said, I can tell you that at the end of the year there were X dentists, Y dental nurses, Z therapists. I do not know if that is actually what the UK needs. I just know that that is what there were. I do not know where they work. I do not know what they are doing. I don't know how many hours they work. This is all I know. So even if we wanted to fix things, we have no fucking clue what these people are doing. None. Like, and apparently we don't even know if like all these dentists and like professionals are in the actual country. They literally could be in Australia,
Rob,
but they could
wait,
not.
what?
Were the dentists fucking raptured?
Yes, they could have literally packed up to fucking Australia or like.
Sorry,
to
right? This is a bit that's actually fucked me up. Like the rest of it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, but hang on, they don't. What? How can they? Like they've got them registered and don't know whether they're actually working and operating in the UK.
Extreme the Ents in the Lord of the Rings. We lost them.
How did? So could they? Right, forgive me if I come off as really naive here, but could they be receiving NHS, like, charging for NHS services, etc., but not actually doing them?
Maybe. I'm sure the fraud exists because it can't not. But like it. And then of course you think, well, that's a big fucking problem. But, it doesn't really matter that much because, again, from the report, any contract reform, so to this absurd dental contract system that we built in 2006 under Tony Blair, any contract reform now will almost certainly be too late for those dentists who already have left the NHS or are considering doing so in the near future, which, may I just remind you, is nearly all of them. The government must urgently introduce incentives to attract and retain dentists to undertake NHS work, which, fat fucking chance, because, hard choices have to be made and your teeth are not among them. So like now, this is briefly coming back on an earlier point, we are so short on dentists in the UK that there now exist these things, like I said before, they're called dental deserts. Humber is a good example. North Yorkshire has 31 dentists serving 100,000 people. That's not even close to enough. That's about like 25% under the average. This is not just a desert in terms of like how many they service, but it's also more specifically a dental desert is where no dentist in your area within like a 2 or 3 hour drive, and that's being very generous for your area, none of them will accept new NHS patients. And I include, by the way, in that number, children. 1 in 10 local authorities in the whole of England do not have a single practice that will accept new NHS patients. 80% of them in total refuse new kids and 90% refuse new adult patients because the waiting list already so long that, there's no point. They will you ring them, you say, I have a 4-year-old with a real problem, and they'll just say, sorry, can't help you, and then hang up. Because that's how the system is designed, to put you in the hands of private care, and good luck paying for it. And then, of course, you might be thinking, and I know, weird, like in the world post-Brexit, but you might be thinking, well, what if we get some foreigners in, like we did for nursing and doctors and all kinds of other things? well, we can, but even if they have like done their cross qualification to work in the UK, they can't work under the NHS unless they do specific NHS foundation training, which takes extra years. And like, if you've moved over and you can work private for more money, why would you do more training, NHS foundation training, to earn less? Why would you do that? Apparently, it gets even fucking stranger, because like, not only, you know, are the foreigners that we want to come in to take care of this incredibly real need, are shunted into the private sector. There's still like about 1,700 of them waiting on their equivalency exams, but the backlog is up to 18 months. This is again from the report. There are qualified overseas dentists currently working as Uber drivers due to delays in being able to take the necessary exams.
There is a very simple solution to this, and it is just, here is a fucking minimum amount. This is how much you all have to do of NHS work. Fuck up if you don't like it, and if it's going to be a financial issue for you, sell one of your fucking Audis. Like, just fuck off. Do the fucking job that you're supposed to be doing. It's a care job. Fucking do it. Like, I don't care. It's a fucking service to society, not something that you're supposed to be fucking creaming money off cunts for. Hate them so much.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like you're right, but like, I mean, the thing is that the thing that they try to keep in mind is not like the prick Audi with the prick with like 3 Audis and a big private practice and, you know, a shiny office. It's like this system also genuinely traps, like, I don't know how rare they are, but let's assume they're out there. Like the people who want to do the thing you say, you know, who want to, you know, just have a normal life and serve their community and just help people be better. Like, just have normal fucking lives. Even they can't do this because this system is designed to fuck them out of it.
Yeah, do you know another system that works a lot like that? It's called the police, and we say fuck them.
Yeah.
Like, it's there for a fucking specific purpose, and it never fucking delivers it. And can you be a part of it and have it change? Can you fuck? Like, it just, I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of these cunts. The thought of fucking charging people for healthcare is just complete fucking anathema to the basic tenets of a fucking normal and functioning society that actually gives a fuck about people. So the fact that these cunts are allowed to fucking continue to exist as they are, even at that, is ridiculous.
I mean, so, you know, like, you might, at this point, like, the question is, of course, so what happens to those, the millions, I should say, who don't have the money to go private? So what happens to them? Let me read you a few passages from the report. As a result of not being able to see an NHS dentist, some people have teeth crumbling in their mouth and are in severe physical and mental pain and are begging for morphine rather than treatment. This, of course, you know, the amount of pain being caused and the amount of treatment not taking place causes more ensuing visits to A&E, because of course that's the only place you can still go, which adds, of course, more stress to an already crumbling system. You know, we've just come out of a bad winter and we're going to go into an even worse one. Let me quote again. Not being able to access a dentist also makes people feel self-conscious about their teeth, and this can affect their work and social interactions, as well as those of other family members. It affects how people feel as they walk down the street and whether they want to talk to other people. In one instance, wearing a mask during the pandemic was seen as a positive thing because it made people feel less worried about their teeth and therefore what other people would think of them. So it's not just purely medical stuff as to whether you're in pain. This shit literally impacts your ability, not just like to function in society, but how comfortable you feel with like friends or family members, or, you know, your ability to literally leave the door and go do something because you're so worried that people look at you and think, what the fuck is up with that person, you know? It's mind-bending. Like, how dare you do this to people? You know, for like, the assessment at the moment is, you know, like I said, this costs the NHS about $3 billion a year. The estimate, and this from like the dentist's own, I think, lobby organization, so assume this is an inflated number, but whatever. They said, oh, what we need is, instead of $3 billion a year, we need $4 billion a year. That would fix a lot. But, you know, hey, we can't spend $1 billion for starving fucking children, can we? So what do you think the chances are of them fixing the fucking dentistry? Tories definitely not gonna fucking do this. You know, like
no chance.
It's just deliberate starvation. I do believe that this is deliberate starvation, just a part of you to just get you to hate the NHS. You know, even if it's trying to do its best, and to get you to give your money to the private sector. Like, are you a child? Are you a pregnant woman? Are you a minority or a refugee or like anyone basically not rich, white, and male? Fuck you. Fuck you. Just to wrap this up, I'll read one more bit because I'm really genuinely fucking angry and upset. And quite frankly, if you're listening, this should be the kind of shit that drives you mad. And nobody's talking about it because we're all too busy just talking about whatever fucking bullshit all the day is. Whereas this is an actual fucking scandal taking place. And the only place you're going to read it is like 3 small copies in The Guardian and a report that I swear to God, it'll be me and 5 other weirdos who read this. Anyway, just to close this out from The Guardian. This is they got some letters from people following the news story they published about this report. This is a reader writing in who was told that his dentist, who was previously accepting NHS money, was now going fully private, and his appointment that he'd waited on months and months was now cancelled. But, you know, hey, why not? They said, look, we're now private. We can immediately offer you the same appointment on the same day at the same time, but just now in private. And I'll let the letter writer end this out. At the conclusion of the call, I was told that a secure payment link would be sent to my phone so that I could pay 50% upfront within 48 hours. Otherwise, the appointment would be cancelled. In the course of a text message, a phone call, and a hyperlink, my lifelong relationship with NHS dentistry was summarily ended, with no consultation and no explanation. I shall not have to resort to using pliers, but I suspect that some patients will. And I'm really glad to see that fucking Keir Starmer's hanging out with Tony Blair today. Fuck all of you.
Shall I cop to something here? I am an NHS dental patient. And on Friday, I was meant to have an appointment, but I was not well. I woke up and I wasn't able to attend. And so the guy's like, oh, great, okay. So when would be good for you to come in? And I was like, well, when's good for you? And he says, okay, how about September? And yeah, so, you know, Jesus. Topical, Rob. Very good timing.
Yeah, it's just fucked. Like, every single fucking time I hear about somebody going to the dentist, it's either a fucking horror story of fucking... Yeah, right. It's a horror story of fucking general admin like that where you're having to wait and, you know, fucking, 2 seconds, I'll forecast my life fucking 6 months into the future and see if I'm alright for half an hour with you. Or it's hearing about how one of them's fucking really well off and, you know, they're looking at buying a fucking bigger mansion or whatever. I'm just sick of them. I hate them so fucking much.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, even under the current idiot system, 2 billion a year, fucking pennies. Pennies. You know, we sent 3.5 billion in like free arms to Ukraine last year. For 2 billion, like 1 billion would fix it. For 2 billion, you could probably like actually get people fixed. And like I said at the beginning, when the NHS was introduced, when dentistry was, you know, not made fully part of it, but was certainly, you know, much more tightly controlled and did much more good. They literally fixed millions upon millions of teeth in a year. It's not that fucking hard. It's not hard. You're not asking for the world. We're not even, you know, full communism tomorrow, yes, but like even under this idiot system, you could fix this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would just need to piss a bunch of pricks off, and that's good, actually.
You could even keep the pricks and like just give them 1 billion more. That would also, you know, maybe not fix it instantly, but go a long way. You don't even need to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you should, but you don't even need to do that. Like, you don't rip the system out root and branch and reform it. Yes, but you don't even need to do that. That's the craziest thing.
Yeah, I mean, the axe must be laid at the root of the tooth.
Well, tune into the upcoming bonus episode to hear more about strong fiscal rules and why things like that just aren't possible.
Mm-hmm. Do we have comment or commentary? I'm done at this point. I can't, you know.
We don't for this one, no. The comment or commentary, that's for the other episode.
Would you like something to lighten the mood to finish us out?
Absolutely not.
All right, bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. You can listen to that episode on patreon.com/praxiscast as and when it comes out, date TBD. You can also catch us on Twitch, twitch.tv/praxiscast, streams on Wednesday and Thursday evenings, and also other random 23 other streams dotted about.
Yeah.
Other than that.
Good for what ails you.
It is. And merch as well. Merch is available at praxiscast.tmail.com. And yeah, catch you either on the bonus or next week, whatever comes first.